Here are the third version of the Level 3 Spellphabet workbooks. These are quite different from previous versions, but these are identical. The only difference between these two books is this is the Teacher Clinician edition. You can make up to 30 copies of, and this one is the Parent Aid edition. You can make up to 5 copies of. If you're a teacher and you only need 5 copies, you've just got a couple of kids in the class that need them, just get this one. This one's a bit cheaper. So let's have a look inside. So firstly, we've got a couple of contents pages, a bit of an introduction talking about the teaching sequence. The sequence in this book came about because I was finding that far too many of the learners I was working with using the Sounds Right program, which is a great program, and we use the initial code pretty faithfully here at Spellphabet. Once they get past the initial code, the jump up to the extended code where they're meeting long vowels and other vowel spellings is a bit big for our clients because we have a clinical population, we have kids with memory issues, kids on the autism spectrum, intellectual disability, and so they need a less steep slope up into the extended code. So I had a look at frequency counts for sounds and discovered that the A something E spelling of A, the sound A, and the single letter A, as in baking, which is, there's bake, A something E, and then you make it into baking. Those are the two most common ways to spell A, the sound A. So I wanted to use those first because get the most bang for your buck and teach kids the spellings that they're most likely to be meeting before we then introduce the other ones that are in the Sounds Right sequence. And so introducing, AI and AY and those ones. So here I would do a little lesson in between the ones with the A something E and then these ones, because in book 1 and 2 we've learnt about ing and we've learnt about ed and we've learnt about est with these suffixes. So here I'd say, okay, we'll get the word bake, we'll drop the e and we put ing. So that is an A, not an a. If it was a, it would have CK after it. And the same for these ones. That's brave, and we take off the E and put ER on effectively. Well, you're just writing an extra R, but kids need to understand that makes it into a comparative. You're braver than someone else. So these ones are showing that drop the E and add a suffix thing with words with what you might call the split vowel digraph, or you might call silent final E. I don't mind if you call it that, or magic E, whatever. The idea is the main thing. And then there are a whole lot of words with A that isn't a split vowel spelling, so to speak, or an A something E. Here, that's label, and this is ladle. We say them similar at the end, label and ladle. But this one you write, you would say L in your spelling voice, and that one you would say L in your spelling voice, the way you say words when you're writing them and going slowly. Like in cells and scent and braces has an E after it in all of these words. You can also have ones with CI like city and CY like cycle, but they're not on this page, they come up later on. And then the J, like in age with a GE or also a GI here, that's a J if it's got EI or Y, the front vowels after it. And then doubles, so doubles go after A. Doubles don't go after A, like in caped, but they do after A, like in capped. So contrasting those, tapping and taping, and getting kids to realise that double letter tells you what the vowel sound is. Then mixing them up a bit. So that's basin and crazy, but that one is an A, dragon. They don't always have a double after them. So if you're not sure, try A or try A. So this principle of phoneme manipulation. Try one sound. If that doesn't work, pull it out. Try a different sound is so important for reading long words. And so learners need to get a lot of practice with it and trying, oh, that could be an A or that could be an A. Let's try salon, salon. Well, it's salon. That's a word that we know. And then, so that's the end of the A and A ones. And then there's the same sort of idea for E. E we usually write with double E, the two letters together, not split. There are some words with split coming up. So double E as a new grapheme, and then this is also a new phoneme. And then the E by itself. So he had a fever and yummy pecan nuts. And so here we're writing, I'm hoping that learners will start to write syllables and realise this is an open syllable. There's nothing after it, that syllable, no other consonant. It ends with a vowel. And so that's why we say E for those ones, vegan and so forth. And if they can learn to chunk words like that, then they'll know to be able to say E. And, you know, being able to also alternate, try E, try E, that same thing of flipping the sound in and out. I will delete, this truck mixes concrete. These are the ones that have E something E. Typically they're 2-syllable words. And then E. So making sure we don't forget about E. A lot of my clients, once they learn E, then they start forgetting E. So we've got to mix them together and give a lot of like robust practice at mixing and match and switching between E and E and not getting too confused and thinking that that letter is only one sound. It represents more than one sound. So when it has a double after it, it's an E. And then we have these kind of word pairs like bled, bleeding, so E and E, but the meaning relationship is strong there, swept, sweep, and those sort of things. And so a lot of these very ancient words, slept and crept and those ones, kept, we have a past tense, but it's irregular, it doesn't have ED, but the relationship between present and past is clear from the vowel. And so a lot of my learners have difficulties with those because they're irregular. And then this one we're learning how to, again, flex and say, we'll try camel or try camel. Oh, camel, yes, I've heard of that. That's a word, a camel, met a zebra. In America, you say zebra, but here in Australia, we say zebra. And so trying E and trying E and then seeing if you get a word. So phoneme manipulation and flexible thinking. Here we've got a few prefixes that you add to a word to change the meaning. And these are all, a lot of those are just stems. They're not proper base words. Tween is not really a word in English anymore. It might have been in Old English. But those are meaningful chunks that you add to a word quite often. And then these N and X prefixes. I'm just trying to find some prefixes that have got the target letter here. So we're doing A and E. Then I sounds. So I something E like in bike. And then I like in blind and child and finds with just letter I by itself. So 2 ways to write that sound. The I as an open syllable in 2-syllable words. And then doubles after it. When you see a double, you know it's an it, not an I. And then contrasting biter and bitter. So that's an I because it hasn't got a double. That's an it because it has. Dinner, diner, filling, filing. And then I as in liar and it as in litter, contrasting them. So this could be an it or it could be an I, and you've got to try out both to see if you can find a word that you know. Then dis and in as prefixes, and then this I is a vowel, a letter Y spelt with a as an I sound, but we change it to a letter I when we're making it plural. So we'll come back to this letter Y as a vowel later on in this workbook, but for the moment we're doing flies. We've got to put a letter I and then the ES plural. And then O something E as in home and nose, and then adding a suffix very often. So dozing, so doze, you drop the E and put the ing on. And prozen. Then O, open syllable words, 2-syllable or longer words, and O with a double after it. So when it's got a double, it's an O, not an O. And then contrasting bonny bony, holy holy. And then a mixture. So some of these have got O and some of them are O, and you just need to try. Is that model or model, motel, to see what the word is, and being flexible again. Being flexible is very hard for a lot of my clients, so we've got to do a lot of practicing it. And then con, meaning with, and over, the prefix over, and then like in brother. There's a lot of high frequency words that have this none, son, mother, brother, come, and so making sure that kids know that sometimes that's There's some more examples there of words, and then mixing them. So it could be as in dozen, o as in dozer. It could be o as in gondola, or as in governs, or o as in godmother, other. So yeah, again, lots and lots of flexible thinking required to be able to start to store those words in long-term memory and not get phased by not knowing how to sound them out. And then U as in abuse and confuse with an E, use something E, and then the open syllable again. Tulip and funeral, music. Then oo like in brute and flukes, so without that little y sound at the start. Oo like in cruel and hula and judo and truth. And then back to So we cycle through the oo and then come back to and remember, it's also with a double after it, and then contrasting U, cuter, and cutter, and showing how the double tells us that's an Then you are bugle, bulging, duckling, that's duet. So again, having to be flexible about what that vowel letter represents. This is like in bull, because this is really, there's a few little words that's very important that you know that the letter U is an sound, and like in book. That's another new grapheme. So just doing that one at a time. And oo like in mood. So there you've got two different sounds with the same spelling, oo like in mood and like in good. And then we come to letter Y like a vowel, So my and cry and dry, those ones. And more of those apply and recycling, trying to get longer words. And then bubble, changing it to bubbly. So back in workbook 2, we learned that this is a suffix that changes words into a vowel, and into a adjective, into an adjective. And so here you've got to get your word like crumble and take off the E and put on a Y, because that's a vowel suffix, so you don't need the E. Crumbly and angrily and crankily and happily. So that one's a adverbial suffix, that ly. And then sometimes this ify suffix, causing to be. Let me clarify. These can amplify. That's another very common suffix. And changing Y to I. So pack the groceries. So when you have grocery with a Y and you put ES on the end, you've got to change the Y to an I first. And finally, some Y something E words. A lot of those are specialised words, tier 3 words. Some kids might know what rye bread is, they probably don't eat it. But words like type and style. So it's a Y something E, not I something E. So I hope that workbook helps learners to learn about short and long vowels and understand that those are actually often related. So, you know, child and children, we have to flip from the short to the long in a lot of words when we're adding suffixes. At the back there's a cheat sheet, so if you're the support person, you can just take a photo on your phone of the section you're doing and read it off, or you can rip the page out and use it that way, so that you can go fast. And I hope that this workbook helps learners to have heaps of practice writing sentences, not so you read the sentence and just complete it on one page, and on the next page you write the whole sentence. So you're really trying to overcome that reticence about writing in a fairly controlled way where they're not going to be making a lot of mistakes. So I'd love to hear your feedback if you have any, and I hope it's useful to you and your students.